All right, hello and welcome back. It's your boy Hank Hackerson at Hank Hacks Hackers, your favorite network and system attacker. And in today's video, we're continuing down the persisting Active Directory room. And we did persistence through credentials in our last video. And so today we're going to just continue down this path that we got. Persisting through tickets will be the next one, and then we'll see how many of these tasks we can fit into this video. This is all part of the attacks and exploits module that's a part of the CompTIA PenTest Plus pathway of TryHackMe. And as you can see, we're getting towards the end here. So this is actually very exciting. And we're going to see how many of these tasks we can knock out today, because they are pretty long tasks and they do take a significant amount of time to research and do, and I haven't done them in advance, so I don't know everything that I'm supposed to be doing in advance. That's why it takes me a little bit extra time to complete these. But then what you see at the very end is the condensed version when I cut out all the fat, and then you just see the edited video. So I'm gonna try to see how many of these things I can get done today in this particular video. Most likely we'll end up breaking it to at least another part, which will be a part 3. But you know, you'll get all of that. So no, you're not gonna be missing anything. I'll make sure you get everything. Real quick before we get started, there is construction going on in my street today, so you may occasionally hear some, I don't know, sawing or something being done in the background. I will try to cut out all of the excess noise as much as I possibly can and try to kind of work with that with the edit to make sure it's not too annoying. But just in case you do hear some noise in the background, please do forgive me. It's not up to me, and I don't want to stop recording just because there's construction going on. So if it gets too crazy, I have to stop recording, and I know that it will be too annoying to listen to in the background for you. But I'm just gonna try to power through it, and I'm gonna try to be a trooper. I would appreciate it if you're also a trooper, and we don't have anything to worry about. But yeah, that's basically kind of like the disclosure that I needed to make to just make sure that you're all good. And of course, as always, if you are studying for PenTest Plus, or if you're studying for Security Analyst or Ethical Hacker, any of those things, I do recommend that you like, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and drop a comment. Any of those activities will do one of two things. Number one, it actually helps our channel so that we can grow the community and find more awesome people like you who are interested in these activities, and we can grow the community and be together throughout this path. But the more important thing is that even when you comment or when you just like a video, what happens is that you will get, like, in your timeline, you will see, and the next time that a video comes out from this channel, so you might be able to see the future videos that come out, especially if you turn on the notification bell and subscribe. So when you do that, you definitely will get notified the next time a video comes out. And then if you're studying for PenTest Plus or Ethical Hacker, Security Analyst, any of those things, all of these things directly apply to your studies and your examinations, and they will directly apply to your task as a security analyst and penetration tester, your day-to-day job. So I think it's a win-win in my humble opinion. I would very much love to have you as a part of the community, and that's pretty much all I'm going to say about that. So without further ado, let's jump into task 3 of this room, which is persistence through tickets. Okay, so the tickets to the chocolate factory is what they're calling this. We have golden and silver tickets that we can retrieve. And we need to understand what kerberos authentication is. I covered this in a previous breaching Active Directory, I think, or maybe not breaching Active Directory. It was one of the Active Directory videos, and you'll see the links inside the description. But we talk about kerberos authentication in pretty great detail in that one, so I'm not going to go in too great of a detail in this one. But what you do need to understand is that instead of hashes, so the previous version of Windows authentication was done through NTLM hashes, and instead of doing NTLM hashes, because they are much more vulnerable, you can decrypt a hash or you can decode a hash, and you can try to find somebody's password, or download their hash and then use their hash to log in, so on and so forth. So instead of that, they came out with Kerberos, and Kerberos is a ticket system, and there's a ticket that grants you tickets, and then there's a ticket that grants you service. And so that's what TGT is the ticket getting ticket, and then TGS is a ticket that gets a service, right? So the user would request a ticket getting ticket, the domain controller responds, and they usually respond with some kind of a challenge and their token and so on and so forth. And then the user responds or requests again with their ticket getting ticket and their timestamp. So they first request the ticket getting ticket, the domain controller responds and gives them that. Then they request a ticket that gets service with their ticket getting ticket. And then that ticket getting service is sent back to them. And then from there, they can request the actual access to the service with the ticket that grants the service. And then the application server will give them the access to whatever service that they were trying to do. So it sounds a little bit confusing if you've never heard of this before, but it makes sense. If the more you hear about it and the more you kind of understand it, and you're more than welcome to pause on this part of the screen and just kind of like review this back and forth. But you'll get it. You'll get it eventually. And by the way, this is kind of one of the more advanced rooms in Active Directory persistence. So you do need to have the basics of the first two rooms, and they actually do say that over here, where you need to know breaching AD and enumerating AD, exploiting AD. You need to know these rooms before going into the current room that we're in right now. So if you haven't gone through these videos, I would recommend you go through those first, so that all the stuff that we're talking about here isn't too overwhelming, because we're literally just diving in the deep end as we go through the rest of these tasks. So I do recommend that you go through that so that you kind of understand what's going on. So the golden ticket are forged ticket getting tickets. So the first ticket that we want. What this means is that we bypass steps 1 and 2 of the diagram above, and we prove to the domain controller who we are. Having a valid TGT of a privileged account, we can now request a TGS for pretty much any service that we want. In order to forge a golden ticket, we need the Kerberos TGT account's password hash so that we can sign a TGT for any user account we want. And by the way, in the last task that we did, we got the Kerberos TGT hash. So that is what this is right here. And so if you haven't seen part 1 of this, you need to go watch part 1 so you can see how we got that, because we're just continuing from that. From there, where are we? We're right here. Okay, so some interesting notes about golden tickets. By injecting at this stage of the Kerberos process, we don't need the password hash of the account, since we kind of bypassed that already. The TGT is only used to prove that the KDC, or the Key Distribution Center, on a domain controller signed it. Since it was signed by the Kerberos TGT hash, this verification passes and the TGT is declared valid. Speaking of contents, the KDC will only validate the user account specified in the TGT if it is older than 20 minutes. This means we can put a disabled, deleted, or non-existent account in the TGT, and it will be valid as long as it's not older than 20 minutes. That's actually it's like a nice little detail to know. Since the policies and rules for tickets are set in the TGT itself, we could override the values pushed by the KDC, such as, for example, tickets should only be valid for 10 hours. We could, for instance, ensure that the TGT is valid for 10 years if we want to, and then grant us persistence for 10 years, right? Because we have that one ticket. So by default, the Kerberos TGT account password never changes, meaning once we have it, unless it's manually rotated by the administrator, we have persistent access by generating TGTs forever. The blue team would have to rotate the account password for Kerberos TGT. Since the current and previous passwords are kept valid for the account, this is to ensure that accidental rotation of the password does not impact services. Rotating the Kerberos TGT account's password is an incredibly painful process for the blue team, since it'll cause a significant amount of services in the environment to stop working. They think they have a valid TGT, sometimes for the next couple of hours, but then the TGT is no longer valid. Not all services are smart enough to release the TGT is no longer valid, and since the timestamp is still valid, and thus won't auto request a new TGT. Golden tickets would even allow you to bypass smart card authentication, since the smart card is verified by the domain controller before it creates the TGT. We can generate a golden ticket on any machine, even one that is not domain joined, such as our own attack box, making it harder for the blue team to detect us. And apart from the Kerberos account's password hash, we only need the domain name, the domain SID, and user ID for the person that we want to impersonate. If we are in a position where we can recover, and by the way, we talk about getting all of these things in the previous Active Directory video, so the enumeration, the basics, all of that stuff. So we are going to be diving deep again. We're just going to assume that we have all of this information, and when you start a penetration test, usually you don't have all of that information, and you have to get that information. So the last several episodes show us how to get that information, so it's very important. If we are in a position where we can recover the Kerberos account's password hash, we would already be in a position where we can recover the other pieces of the required information. Now, silver tickets. Silver tickets are forged TGS tickets. So now we have the TGT, now we want to go get a TGS. We skip all communication, steps 1 through 4 in the diagram above, and we would have had access, we would have had the KDC on the DC and just interface with the service that we want to access directly. Some interesting notes about silver tickets. The generated TGS is signed by the machine account of the host we are targeting, the system account. The main difference between gold and silver tickets is the number of privileges we require. If we have the Kerberos account's password hash, we can get access to everything. With a silver ticket, since we only have access to the password hash of the machine account of the server we're attacking, we can only impersonate users on that host itself. The silver ticket scope is limited to whatever service is targeted on the specific server. The TGS is forged. So since it's forged, there is no associated TGT, meaning the domain controller was never contacted. This makes the attack incredibly dangerous, since the only available logs would be on the targeted server. So while the scope is more limited, it is significantly harder for the blue team to detect us here. The permissions are determined through SIDs, and since that's happening, we can again create a non-existing user for the silver ticket, as long as we ensure the ticket has the relevant SID that would place the user in the host local admin group. That's what SID is, by the way. It's a security identification number. The machine account's password is usually rotated every 30 days, which would not be good for persistence. However, we could leverage the access our TGS provides to gain access to the host registry and alter the parameter that is responsible for the password rotation, thereby ensuring the machine account remains static and granting us persistence on the machine. While only having access to a single host might seem like a significant downgrade, machine accounts can be used as normal Active Directory accounts, allowing you not only admin access to the host, but also the means to continue enumerating and exploiting Active Directory, so that as the way that you would with an Active Directory user account. Forging tickets for fun and profit. So now that we have understanding the basics, first we need the NTLM hash of the Kerberos account, which we now have from the last DC sync exercise that we did in the last task. Furthermore, make a note of the NTLM hash associated with the THM server 1 machine account, since we will need this for the silver ticket. You can find this information on the DC dump that you performed. So since I'm doing a new recording, I have to redo this part of the exercise so I can actually get that one more time. The last piece of information we need is the domain SID, and using our low privileged SSH terminal at THM work 1, we can use the AD RSAT CMDLET to recover this information. And so we're going to run terminal and then assign it PowerShell so that we are actually running PowerShell. Then we're going to do get AD domain. This is a command that we learned when we were enumerating AD through PowerShell. And it's going to give us all the information about the domain that we're on. And then we can relaunch Mimikatz, and we do that here. And I'm just going to do all of this stuff because I need to redo all of this stuff, and then you'll see how I got all this stuff. And then from Mimikatz, we're going to run this command, which is the kerberos golden ticket. And then admin is not going to be, or really not a legit account, I guess. The domain, and then the ID number and SID, and so on and so forth. So explaining some of these parameters, the admin parameter does not need to actually be a valid user. So I guess it really can be like nothing or just some random thing. The domain is actually going to be the fully qualified domain name of the domain that we want to generate the ticket for. And if we go up here, we can find the fully qualified domain name over here, and this is it. So typically it looks like this. It's like it's a full domain name. PDC emulator also has that value. The RID master also has that value. This is the distinguished name, so not to be confused with the fully qualified domain name. The fully qualified domain name actually it looks like a domain name, so it has the .za, yada yada yada. So in this particular case, we can see that za.tryhackme.loc is the fully qualified domain name. We have THMDC, which is the domain in this particular case. Since we're getting an AD domain, it's the specific domain that we're at, but the DNS root would be the fully qualified domain name, which is also referred to as the forest. And let's see if that value is here as well. Yeah, it is also here. So I guess, no, you know what? I stand corrected. So this is the forest, tryhackme.loc, and then za.tryhackme is the DNS root. And then from there, you have the domain, which is the thm.za.tryhackme. And then we have the ID, which is the user RID. By default, Mimikatz uses 500, which is the default administrator account RID. SID is the security ID, and so the SID of the domain that we want to generate the ticket for, and the Kerberos TGT, which is the hash of the Kerberos account. End in is the ticket lifetime. By default, Mimikatz generates a ticket that's valid for 10 years. The default Kerberos policy of AD is 10 hours, which is 600 minutes. So it's ending in 600 minutes. The renew max is the maximum ticket lifetime with renewal. By default, Mimikatz generates a ticket for 10 years. The default Kerberos policy is 10,080 minutes, which is 7 days, excuse me. And the PTT, it tells Mimikatz to inject the ticket directly into the session, meaning it is ready to be used. And we can verify that the golden ticket is working by running the dir command against the domain controller. So we would have to be back inside the terminal. We would need to basically exit Mimikatz. It seems like they've already done that. And so then you just run dir inside against the domain controller. And even if the golden ticket is an incredibly long time, the blue team can still defend against this by simply rotating the Kerberos password twice. If we really want to dig in our roots, we need to generate silver tickets, which are less likely to be discovered and significantly harder to defend against the passwords. And we can use the following command to generate a silver ticket. So the admin is the same, domain is the same, ID is the same, SID is the same. Target is the new parameter, so it's the host name of our target server. And in this case, it's going to be the host name of the server that's being targeted. So, okay. RC4 is the NTLM hash of the machine account of our target. Look through the desync results for the NTLM hash of the server 1. The dollar indicates that it is a machine account. Service is the service that we're requesting the ticket for. CIFS is a safe bet since it allows file access. And PTT puts it in the current session. And then we can verify that the ticket is working by running it against the server. And then we'll be able to use all of the information that we gathered to answer these questions, which is what's the NTLM hash that's used to sign the Kerberos tickets, what's the name of the ticket that impersonates a legitimate ticket. Okay, so this is actually, I think what is it? I think it's KRBTGT, right? That's what it stands for. KRBTGT. I just want to make sure. Kerberos, yeah, KRBTGT. So the NTLM accounts KRBTGT is that. Very good. And what is the name of a ticket that impersonates a legitimate TGT. So for TGT, it would be the golden ticket, and I misspelled ticket and they still gave it to me. Impersonating a TGS would be a silver ticket. And what is the lifetime default in 10 years of a golden ticket? And it's 10. So we have all of the answers for this task, but I do need to do all of these exercises that they said so that we can have our information, and we are going to probably end up using that information as we go through the rest of these tasks. So now I'm going to go into the attack box, and then we're going to run all of these exercises so that we can generate our tickets. I have already, so this is also important, every time that you start the attack box in this particular room, or every time that you want to do anything in this room, there's instructions in the introduction so that you can resolve your DNS to the DNS that is up here, the THM root domain controller. And you need to do that, even if you're going to use your own Linux machine or any other machine, and if you don't want to use the attack box that's inside of TryHackMe, you have to do that. Otherwise, none of these exercises are actually going to work for you. So that is something that you need to do, and I've already done that. And from there, now we're going to go and rerun this previous exercise, because I need to rerun this to get access to all of the information that we had previously. And I'll kind of just, after I run each command, I'm just going to sound out what I did so that you know what's going on. So the first thing that I got to do is I got to SSH into the THM Work1 computer, which is the one that is at the bottom right here. So this is the lowest privilege one that we have. So we're going to first SSH into this one, and then from there we're going to do a DC sync, domain controller sync, and dump all of the user credentials into our attack box so that we have access to it. So let's do that. All right, so that was our basic SSH command, and so it would be SSH administrator at this IP address down here, and then it asks you if you're sure, you say yes, and then from there you type in the password, which is this, and it's not going to show you the password, so it basically, you need to just make sure that you type it correctly. Now that we are here, I need to go to the place where I can run Mimikatz, or I can just simply run this specific command right here. And in the interest of time, I'm literally just going to do that so I can start Mimikatz up quickly, and just like that. And now we are inside Mimikatz. As you can see, they're identical on both sides. So now what we want to do is we want to do an LSA dump, but this first part of this is only doing it for one user. And what we want to do is we want to do it for all of the users. So in order to be able to do that, we need to go ahead and first log, so enable logging essentially. And then when we're going to enable the logging, we need to declare a text file that we want to download everything into. And then when we do that, we run the LSA dump, and then we get all of the credentials. So from here, I'm just going to create a log called all users underscore dcdump.txt, and we are now good with our command. So it says OK at the end, which means it's all good. So now I'm just going to take this, because this is exactly what I would need to run, and I'm going to paste that here, and I'm going to press enter, and you will see that it's going to start downloading everything. And this takes a minute or two, but then once it downloads all of the usernames and all of their hashes, we'll have a text file. And then from there, we can transfer that text file to our attack box using secure copy, and then we can proceed with the rest of the information that we need. So I'm going to open this up in full screen because it's going to be a little bit easier to navigate multiple terminals, and I'll just shrink this back down. So we'll have this, and then we'll have this running here. And yeah, whenever this is done, we're going to secure copy the file into our attack box terminal. So I'll just open up one right here, and yeah, we'll run it from there. Okay, so that finished, and now what we need to do is we need to exit Mimikatz, and we have now exited. and we are inside the users administrator.za directory. So if I do a dir, it'll show me that there is a little file right here called all users dc dump. So the command to secure copy something looks like this. So it's scp, and we're running it. This is also an important note. We're running it from our attack box. So we're running it from here. You're going to do scp for secure copy administrator at za.tryhackme.loc at thmwork.za.tryhackme.loc. So it's the first thing that we did to actually log into the secure shell, and then the actual machine that we're in, which is the thmwork machine right here. And so from here, then you say colon, and then the path that the text file is in, which in our case is users administrator.za, and then back / all users underscore dc dump.txt. And then I'm just going to do a dot to imply that I want it to be inside the current directory that I am in right now, which is this little squiggly line. That's my current directory that I'm in right now. So that's it. I just want it to be here. And so I can even do, just to make it a little bit easier, I'm going to do / desktop. So it's going to be dot / desktop. And hopefully I will have done this correctly. And it'll actually do everything for me. So let's make sure that it runs. Okay, cool. So the first time that I did this, I forgot to capitalize this little THMWork1 part. And so it gave me an error saying that they could not find the name resolution. So in the second attempt, all I did was I just capitalized the THMWork1, and it was all good. And then it asked me, hey, are you sure you want to continue? I said yes. And I said, okay, enter the password for this person, and I did. And now we got our file downloaded. And so my current directory has a desktop in it. So if I go to that desktop, there should be my users, and there are my users. So that is my file right there. And so what we want to do now is we want to, I already have the kerberos hash. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the all users file with nano. And nano is just a text editor that's inside Linux, super friendly, very useful. And we're going to do Control W to see where, like we're searching within the file to see where something is. And I think I need the hash for, it was for whatever the server, right? It's like a server that we're supposed to look for. Yeah, the NTLM hash for THM server 1, so this thing. So I'm going to copy this, and maybe hopefully I can paste it in here. And press enter, and there it is. So it found it for me, and this is the hash for the server 1, just like that. Super easy. So that's the exact same process that I did to find the hash for the KRB TGT account. Literally same thing. You just do Control W to go where is, you type in KRB TGT, and it gives you the hash, and then you just copy the thing under credentials hash. So just like that, we have the hash for this, and I'm going to copy this. Okay, well, in the interest of time, I could not find Pluma, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my desktop, and I'm going to create a file called THM server 1, and that is going to be right here. And from here, I'm just going to paste the hash value in here, and that's it. I'm going to do Control O to write it, and then Control X to exit. And now I have my THM server 1, which is the hash value, and nano THM server 1. And if I did that, I'll go in here, and voila, we have our hash value in there. So there you go. Okay, so we saved our hash value inside a little text file, and I think we're done with this, but I'm just gonna close that out and keep it just in case, just in case I need it for the future tasks. But yeah, just like that. So we were able to find the NTLM hash of this particular person, and or the particular account. And now what we need to do is we need to go ahead and get the tickets. We need to forge some tickets here. So inside of our PowerShell, not inside of our PowerShell, inside of our secure shell into the Windows terminal. I'm going to run PowerShell so that we can run get AD domain and then just verify that all the information is the same. And then from there, we're going to run Mimikatz again and then create our tickets. So let's do that. So this is the PowerShell window. So from here, or this is the shell window. And from here, we are going to first run PowerShell. All right, so there we go. We ran it. The information seems to be pretty similar. So I have the name is ZA, the NetBIOS name is ZA. The DNS, I don't have a DNS here actually. So what I do have is THM DCZA.TryHackMe. I have all that stuff. So it doesn't seem that I had the rest of the information from here. So let's see if we can do get AD domain, and then for the properties value, I'm going to do an asterisk. And it cannot, okay, so there's no properties for this current version of get AD domain inside of this PowerShell, which is fine. We're just going to work with what we got over here. So the information, I'm just going to assume that is pretty much identical to what's going on here. So we're just going to run Mimikatz in the same way, and we're going to generate a couple of tickets. So what we're going to do is we're going to create they're both golden tickets. It's just a few different options that are available here. So the first and foremost is going to be the TGT, the golden ticket with the NTLM hash of kerberos. That's the first thing that we're going to do. So let's do that. Okay, so real quick, just want to show you something that was not previously available here. So I needed to get the SID of this domain, and when I just ran get AD domain, the information was not available here. There is no field here that shows us the domain SID, and we need that to be able to run the Mimikatz ticket, the golden ticket commands. And so I exited Mimikatz real quick, and then I came back and ran PowerShell one more time. And when I came inside of PowerShell, I did get AD domain, pipe, and then select domain SID, and it spit out the domain SID for me. And I need this, and it's just to keep this in mind that sometimes when you just run the generic get AD domain command or get AD organizational unit, it's not going to show you everything about that. And my next attempt was to do a properties everything, which is actually right here. You just can't see it because it's like in super dark gray or something. But typically when you do properties and then you do asterisk, it shows you every single property that's available for that command, but it's not available in this version of PowerShell that we're running. So I had to individually select what I wanted, which is the domain SID. Now that I have the domain SID, I can run Mimikatz again, which I just did. And then from here, we're going to copy this and then paste it after this portion of the command right here that says domain SID right here, after this portion. So I'm just going to copy all of this, and I'm going to paste this as the first part of our command. Then I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to paste that as the next part of my command. And then I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to do kerberos TGT, and put that here. Go on, buddy, paste it. Okay, I guess I can't do that, so it's /KRB TGT /KRB TGT, and then I need the kerberos hash, so hopefully it'll let me freaking paste this in there, because that would be annoying if it didn't let me paste this in here. That's the kerberos hash. Okay, there we go, paste that. So we got the kerberos hash, and then what is the rest of the command? After we run that, it's going to be end in 600 and renew in 10,800. And that should be the rest of the command. So we have that. And so now I just press enter. Golden ticket successfully submitted for current session. Great. So we have that. I guess we can verify that it's running by doing the dir command against the domain controller, but it would require that I leave Mimikatz. So I wonder if I should leave Mimikatz. Why not? Let's do it. Who cares? We'll leave Mimikatz by typing exit, and we're out of Mimikatz. And now I can just run it just to verify that we have it, right? So in this particular case, oh, you know what else that's interesting? They've been doing all of this inside Aaron Jones's accounts, and I've been doing it inside the administrator account. So I wonder if that makes a difference. I hope it doesn't, but I wonder if that makes a difference. So we're gonna do a dir command against our domain controller. So let's do that. And do we have it? Do we have it? Let's see, do I have it? I'm not sure. I actually don't know what I'm looking for here. So it might be kind of interesting to see if we do have it or if we don't, but I'm gonna say yes, we have it, because it says that it was successfully submitted, and so it says even if it has a long time, the blue team can do it. So if we really want to dig in our roots, we need to do a service ticket. So it doesn't really tell me what I'm supposed to be looking for, and we didn't declare any kind of a name for what we are creating. So that part is a little bit confusing for me, but we didn't have any kind of an error. So I'll just say that we didn't have any kind of an error, and it should be fine. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go back into Mimikatz, and I'm going to create the next ticket, which is our ticket granting service. And so we're going to do that, and we're going to run Mimikatz one more time, and we're going to come over here, and we're going to copy everything up until the SID portion, so that I can copy this and paste that in here, and hopefully I can just scroll up and get my SID right here. Very good. Got the SID, copy the SID, come down here and paste the SID. And then the next part is the target, which is the host name of the server that's being targeted, which is going to be the THM server 1. So the host name is THM server 1za.tryhackme, but it can be any joined domain. So I'm going to do the / target is going to be this thing right here. So I'm just going to copy this, because that's what we got the hash for. So / what is it? Target is going to be this server. And so target, hostname of the server. RC4 is going to be the NTLM hash of the machine account, which is going to be what we got for the THM server. So it's / RC4, and then we're going to get that. So / RC4 : and then we have it inside of our nano THM server, and this is our server hash. And just like that, we're going to paste that in here. And the last portion of the command is to do what? This thing. So service CIF, because that's the service that allows us to read files. Come on, buddy, paste it. Why are you doing this to me? I don't understand. Copy, and then go here and paste it. There we go. Enter. We have it successfully submitted, yada, 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 so on and so forth. So I'm just going to leave it here because I want to verify that we have it. But the last time that I checked, there was nothing that I saw that was interesting. So you know what? Maybe if I run it again this time, I'll notice a different thing, like a different output, right? So maybe that's what will happen. So let's see, the previous one that we ran, there was delete vagrant user PS1, and then right down here we have auto login PS1, delete vagrant user PS1. And what else is over here that wasn't there before? I think it did work, because now I'm noticing something that was not there before. So I think it did work. So yeah, just from that, I'm just going to say that it did work. Okay, so we're done. I mean, we did all of the pieces of the exercise and we got ourselves our tickets and we got the answers to it. So persistence through tickets is done. And it's actually not bad because I think that was less than an hour altogether, probably maybe like 45 minutes or so. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the next piece, which is persistence through certificates. And then maybe we will need the information that we gathered already, maybe we won't, but we're about to find out right now. All right, persistence through certificates, the return of ADCS. So just to kind of read this quick note over here is that the techniques discussed from this point forward are incredibly invasive and hard to remove. Even if you have sign off on your red team exercise to perform these techniques, you must take the utmost caution where performing these techniques. In real world scenarios, the exploitation of most of these techniques would result in a full domain rebuild. Make sure to fully understand the consequences of using these techniques. This sounds like super badass, honestly. And only perform them if you have prior approval on your assessment and they are deemed necessary. In most cases, a red team exercise would be dechained at this point instead of using these techniques, meaning you would most likely not perform these persistence techniques but rather simulate them. The last two persistence techniques relied on credentials, the ones that we just did. While we can definitely make the blue team's lives complicated, they can ultimately rotate enough credentials to kick us out. So while these techniques are great to keep the blue team busy, while we keep them busy, we should look to use persistence techniques that are credential agnostic, meaning the rotation of the credentials will not kick us out. And so the first one that we're going to look at are certificates. Credential agnostic is like a new term that I think I like a lot, honestly. Okay, so in the exploiting AD room, we leverage certificates to become domain admins. However, certificates can also be used for persistence. All we need is a valid certificate that can be used for client authentication. This will allow us to use the certificate to request a TGT, and we can continue requesting TGTs no matter how many rotations they do on the account that we're attacking. The only way that we can be kicked out is if they revoke the certificate we generated or if it expires, meaning we would probably have persistent access by default for roughly the next 5 years. If you're interested in a refresh about requesting this, you can go to the Exploiting AD or AD Certificates template room. I haven't done the AD Certificates template room, so that might not be a bad idea to do, but I'm just going to kind of go into this and hopefully we'll be able to pull it off together. In this room, we're not messing around. We're going after the certificate authority itself. Depending on our access, we can take it another step further. We could simply steal the private key of the root CA certificate to generate our own certificates whenever we like it. Even worse, since these certificates were never issued by the certificate authority, the blue team has no ability to revoke them. This would be even worse for the blue team, since it would mean a rotation of the CA, meaning all issued certificates will have to be revoked by the blue team to kick us out. Imagine you've just spent the last 2 days performing a domain takeback by rotating the credentials of every single privileged account, resetting all the gold and silver tickets, just to realize the attacker is persistent by becoming your certificate authority. Yikes. Okay, so extracting the private key. We are going to be using Mimikatz for this. The private key is stored on the CA server itself. If the private key is not protected through hardware-based protection methods such as the hardware security module, which is often the case for organizations that just use Active Directory certificate services, it's protected by the Machine Data Protection API. This means that we can use tools like Mimikatz and Sharp DP API to extract the CA certificate and thus the private key from the certificate authority. Mimikatz is the simplest tool to use, but if you want to experience other tools, we can go to that link. We're just going to use Mimikatz for this exercise just to kind of make things simple. We're going to use SSH to authenticate to THMDC TryHackMe using the administrator credentials from task 2. Create a unique directory for the user and move to it, and then load Mimikatz. So I'm already logged in as the admin and I'm still here as the admin. So I'm going to clear this screen for now. Hopefully I won't need any of that information. If I scroll up, Oh, it's still there. Okay, that's good. That's always good. Okay, so we're just going to clear the screen for now. And then they just made a directory inside their administrator DA. So I'm just going to make that directory here as well. So it's going to be make dir. We'll call it CA auth. We'll just call it that. So that's our directory. And then we're now going to go into cd CA auth, meaning we're going to change the directory. And now we are inside cd or CA auth. From there, we're going to run Mimikatz. So I'm just going to do this piece by piece. So let's just do this together. So we'll do this. We're going to paste it, run Mimikatz. And we are now running it inside that directory. So let's see first if we can view the certificates stored on the DC. And that would be run by running the crypto certificates system store local machine interface command. So we're going to go here, going to paste this, and let's see if we can view it. It seems like we can view it. Look at that. We have some, it seems like, I think it's just one that's loaded. I'm just going to kind of open this up a little bit. It seems that, yeah, there is just one. And so there's the algorithm, the SHA-1 hash for it, the key container, the provider, Microsoft RSA, provider type, the type of the key that we got, provider name, key container, unique name, implementation, algorithm, key size. Yeah, so we just have one. Is it exportable? No, it is not exportable. So we'll see what else we can do here. So we can view it. That's good. We can see that the certificate is on the DC. We can also note that some of these certificates were set to not allow us to export the key. We just read that. Without this private key, we would not be able to generate new certificates. Luckily, Mimikatz allows us to patch memory to make the keys exportable. Mimikatz is amazing, bro. Like, this is crazy. By the way, if you went to try to get like instructions from the Gemini AI from Google or from any other AI and say, hey, teach me how to use Mimikatz, it'll say, I'm sorry, I can't, because it's a very sensitive tool that's used for a lot of hacking and so on and so forth. So this video is now providing you way more than AI ever could. And this is one of those crazy things that I think it's so badass about TryHackMe. Honestly, it's like fucking amazing. Okay, so we're going to do privilege debug. I'm just going to copy paste these things. I love typing, honestly. It's so fun to do, especially with my mechanical keyboard. But it's so much faster if we just copy paste these things. And so crypto CAPI. So first we privileged our way up, right? Or removed like limited privileges. I think that's what that does. And then now we have crypto CAPI. So local crypto API RSA patched and local crypto API DSA patched. So we have that. And now we're going to do crypto CNG, which is going to be our key ISO. That is also going to be, oh, wait. What? We got an error here. Error call mpatch generic processor overview from build. That is not working, so something's wrong with this. If you get an error, don't worry, it just means someone else executed the patch before you. With these services patched, we can use Mimikatz to export the certificate. Okay, good. Whew. Okay. All right, so that means somebody else executed the patch before me, so that's fine. So now we are going to run this command where we can export our certificates, it seems. So if I go here and do this and paste it and press enter, look at that. It exported my certificate. And that is pretty badass. It's stored as my, I guess, but it's inside whatever directory we're in right now, so it should be fine. And public export, okay. Private export, okay. And that is badass, let me tell you. This is awesome. Okay, great. So the exported certificates will be stored in both PFX and DER format to the disk, and we just saw that. And this is what it's going to look like when we actually go inside of our new directory. The ZA-THMDCCA PFX certificate is the one that we're particularly interested in order to export the private key. A password must be used to encrypt the certificate. By default, Mimikatz assigns the password of Mimikatz. So download or copy the certificate to your attack box using secure copy, and then copy it to your low privilege user's home directory on THM work 1. Okay, so you can perform the rest of the steps on your own non-domain joined Windows machine if you prefer. So generating our own certificates would be done running this command, and then we can use Rubius to request a TGT using the certificate to verify, and then it would be run like this. Okay, and then now we can use Mimikatz to load the TGT and authenticate to THMDC, and we are no longer friends with the blue team. What key is used to sign certificates to prove their authenticity? Okay, what key is used to sign certificates to prove their authenticity? Well, you know what, before answering that question, let me run the rest of these commands, because I really want to make sure that this actually works. So I was able to export, and now they're interested, they're already here. So we are interested in this particular certificate. By default, Mimikatz assigns the password of that. Download or copy the certificate to your attack box using secure copy. Okay, so first let's exit Mimikatz real quick, and let's do a dir command to see if we have them, and we do have them. Both of them are here. So what we want to do now is we want to transfer that to our attack box. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to run the secure copy command that we have up here. It should be right there. So secure copy, the administrator is here, TryHackMe, yada, yada, yada. And what we're doing is we're going to be taking this thing, and we're just going to change this part of it, this last part. So it's going to be that administrator ZA, but then it's going to be CA auth is what we're going into. And then from there, we need local machine my 0.pfx, and then enter. And enter his password. I forgot his password already, so what's his password? It is going to be here. No, it's not here. It is here. TryHackMe would not guess 1 at. So TryHackMe would not guess 1 at. Cool, we got it. So now let's ls, and there it is. Okay, so it says that it's password protected. So I wonder, oh no, I saved it as desktop, didn't I? So cd desktop won't work because it's not a directory. So I saved the pfx file as desktop. I wonder if that's going to make it an issue. So let's see if we can access this. I mean, it looks like this is the certificate, so I think it's okay. But I'm just going to do this one more time, and I'm going to save it instead of as desktop. I'm going to save it as certificate.pfx, just to make sure that it saves in the same format. And damn it, TryHackMe would not guess. Okay, TryHackMe would not guess 1 at. Okay, so now we have that, and then, okay, certificate.pfx. So now if I do nano certificate.pfx, okay, it's the same output, fine. So it's the same thing, no problem. So now we have 2 copies of the certificate. Okay, great. So now we can continue with the rest of this task, which says to do what? We are here, we have this, we have transferred it, and now we are going to look at generating. So now that we have the private key and root certificate, we can use the Spectre Ops forget a forge cert tool to forge a client authenticate certificate for any user that we want. The forge certificate and Rubus binaries are stored in the tools directory on THM Work 1. Let's use forge cert to generate a new certificate. And so this is going to be what you run to use forge cert, and then the rest of it is all information here that has been filled in for us. So I'm just going to be copy pasting all of that, but just to kind of understand what's happening. So CA cert path is the path to our exported certificate, and the CA cert password. So this is going to be the path to our exported certificate. That's going to essentially what's going to be happening. And then from there, CA cert password is going to be the password that we have. And so this is local machine, THM. I wonder if it's the previous certificate that we generated, or if it's the current one that we have. Because if it's the previous one, it's not the same path that they used over here, because this is like the full path of the thing. So I think this is a new certificate path. So the path to our exported CA certificate, the password is going to be the password used to encrypt the certificate by Mimikatz. Mimikatz, by default, Mimikatz assigns Mimikatz. Subject, the subject or common name of the certificate. This doesn't really matter. The alternative name is the user principal name of the account that we want to impersonate. It has to be a legitimate user. And for them, what was the alternative name that they used? Subject alt name is administrator. The new cert path is the path to where forge cert will store the generated certificate, and then the new cert password is going to be this. Okay, so this has to be the path of the current certificate, exactly how it is. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to copy it, but the one thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to change that one particular piece to read exactly what my PFX file reads, because it needs to be exactly that, I would assume. Otherwise, it's not even going to work. So for my case, I'm just going to go here and I'm going to change it to exactly what this is right here. The local machine, my, so on and so forth. So local machine, capital MY underscore 0 underscore dot PFX. And everything else should be fine. And so we're just gonna run it. And it did work, it seems, right? So if I do a dir command, I do have a new PFX file, and it is called full admin PFX. Let's fucking go, bro. Okay, great. So we have that. And so now we can use Rubius to request a TGT. Using the certificate that we just made, we will use the following command. So tools, Rubius, yada, 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 and then ask TGT. The user is the admin. The encryption type is AES-256. The certificate, let me just copy this and then we'll read through all of this stuff together. So the user is the user that we want to impersonate and has to match the UPN for the certificate that we generated, which is administrator. The encryption type is the encryption type for the ticket setting. This is important for evasion since the default encryption algorithm is weak, which would result in an overpass the hash alert. So AES-256 is pretty strong. Certificate path to the certificate that we've generated, which is the one that we're in right now. So I need to verify that that path over there. And then the password is going to be the password for the certificate file that we just generated. The out file is the file where our TGT will be output to, which we'll just declare one. Domain is the fully qualified domain name of the domain that we're currently attacking, which already has been filled in for us. And the domain controller is the IP of the domain controller, which we are requesting the TGT from. Usually it is best to select a domain controller that has a CA service running. Once we execute the command, we should see receive our TGT. So this is what they ran. User administrator, encryption time 256. Certificate is the vuln certificate PFX. Is that what they just created over here? No, it's not. So it's a different certificate. And this is path to the certificate that we have generated. So it's the one, I'm just going to say that it's the one that we just generated using this thing right here. and then password TryHackMe. Out file is going to be administrator kerber whatever, and the domain is that, and the domain controller is 10200x101, and is that the actual thing right here? 10200x. This is the domain controller. So no, this is the child domain controller, not the root domain controller. So I wonder if it's better to choose the root domain controller instead of the child domain controller. But yeah, upon finishing that, we can use Mimikatz to load the TGT to authenticate to the domain controller. And from here, let's see. Okay, so we're gonna just try to do it with the actual domain controller, not the child domain controller, because the 101 extension at the very end implies that it's the child domain. I wonder if I should just do the child domain controller just to do it consistent with this. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do it with the child domain controller just to be consistent with the exercise, and then from there we will just make sure that everything else is all good. So paste, and so we have user administrator is all good. Everything up until the encryption type is all good. So now what we want to do is we want to use the PFX that we generated. So they're using their vuln certs. So what we're going to do is the full admin PFX, and that is going to be our file. And then the password is going to be, I'll just use the same one, TryHackMe. And then the out file is going to be, it needs to be something that ends with Kirby right here. So we're just going to call it the same, administrator.kirby. And domain is that, and the domain controller in our particular case is 10242.101, I believe. So let's just verify that part. 10242.101. That's what it looks like. So I think this should be fine. So we are now going to run it. And do we get any error messages? Oh, I used the wrong password because I said this password. My bad. So the password is not TryHackMe, but the password is password123. So that's what the problem was. So I think everything else should be fine, but I'm gonna do password123. So let's try that. Okay, looks promising. It looks like it might be working. Yeah, it looks like it's working. No error messages, so that's a good sign. So let's see. All right, the reason why we ran into an error at the very end right here when we were running Rubius is because of the fact that at the very beginning I was not logged into the correct SSH account, and I'm supposed to be logged into the THMDC ZA TryHackMe. So small things like that can actually kind of, make you fall flat on your face. And so now I went back and I re-SSH'd from the very beginning into the correct account. And when you do that, it actually kind of shows you. So here we go. This is at the very, very top. So I re-SSH'd into the correct account. And then I went and created a new directory called CA. I went inside the directory. I ran Mimikatz. And from that, I ran the command to crypto certificates system local machine, and it gave me several certificates instead of just one certificate, which is very important. So I got 4 certificates out of this one. Then I ran privilege debug, crypto KPI, and then crypto CNG, and the crypto CNG still gave me an error message. But when I ran the other part of getting certificates and exporting them, again, it gave me multiple certificates as an export. So I exited and I came and looked what was inside of my directory, and there's several certificates that were exported instead of just the 2 that I had previously. And I think that's where everything kind of fell flat. So Now from here, now that I know that I have the right amount of certificates and it actually matches the output that is on this screen right here, I can go ahead and continue by running this specific command to forge a certificate, and I'll change it obviously to the one that we have on our machine for the location of our previous certificate. And from there, everything should work fairly well. So, okay, so we got it. Just a couple of notes on the command. It is not the identical command that you see over here. There are a couple of things that have been updated. First and foremost, the other command in the instructions, it says forge cert, and then it goes directly to the forgecert.exe, and the actual location of the exe is inside another folder called forgecert. So it needs to be tools, forgecert, and then forgecert.exe. And then the second part that's also important to note is that the pfx file that you see over here just has ZA, THMDC, on and so forth. And here we need to make sure that we add the preceding, there you go, the preceding text that comes before it, which is local machine, my1, and then ZA, THMDC, etc. So having run that, we did get our forged certificate, and if I run dir, I do see that it is here under full admin .pfx, and the password is password123. So now I can go ahead and try to run the Rubius command, where we have our out file and everything else that we could potentially use. So it's going to be everything until this part should be exactly the same. So hopefully Rubius is actually in the same location in tools. And so I can do paste, and then the certificate is going to be the full admin.pfx, and the password is going to be password123. And what else do I need to do? Out file is, I'm just going to keep the same. Domain is going to stay the same, so I'll just copy this part. And the actual domain IP is going to be just a little bit different. So we're going to have the domain IP 10.200.42.101 is what it is. So let's try that. DC equals 10.200.42.101. And here we go. Let's see if this actually works. This is where I got the error message last time. So it went this far, it just didn't finish. So let's see if this actually works here. Okay, so I got a different error message. So that's, I guess that's progress. So let's see what might have been going on here that might not be working. All right, so here's what is the update. I cut out a lot of the fat, so you're not gonna see all of the error handling and the trial and error that I just went through, but I'm just gonna tell you exactly what happened. So the first thing that I had done that was a mistake was I was trying to run all of these commands inside of the THM work1 domain, this piece right here, inside of this machine. That was the first time, that was the first like series of errors that I went through, was I was trying to run all of the certificate creation and everything from this machine, when in actuality it was supposed to be done from this machine right here, the THMDC. So the first thing that I had to do was I needed to SSH into administrator at this specific domain, and then run all of these commands right here to create the certificate and all that stuff. So that was the first error. The second error was that when I got to the very end of this right here, where is it? This section. When I got to Rubius, I disregarded this section of the instructions right here. And this section of the instructions, specifically this part, is what was the key that I needed to actually get done, which says you need to download or copy this to the attack box and then copy to the low privilege user's home directory on THM work1. So I was trying to run the entire thing from THMDC when I was supposed to be running the remaining part of this from THM work1. and that's where the issue happened, and it's all bad. So essentially, what you need to do is everything up until the point where you run Mimikatz and you download the certificates needs to be done on the THMDC, and then from there, you transfer the certificate, which is this specific certificate. You transfer this to your attack box, and then transfer that back to the THM Work 1. So you would need to log into THM Work 1, and then from there, run it. And that's kind of where the whole thing fell down for me. So it should all be good from now. I'm hoping that this is like the last piece of error handling that I have to do. So I am now going to make sure that I transfer the correct PFX file into my attack box, and then from there I'm going to transfer it to the lower privileged user from THM Work 1. So let's get that done. Alright, so we transferred the local machine my1za yada 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 into my current directory inside of the attack box, and here it is right here. And so from here I need to now go into I'm going to exit my administrator inside of THMDC, and I'm going to go into the lower privileged account, which is going to be the THM Work 1 right here. So we're going to log into that one. All right, now we are logged into THM Work 1, as you can see here. So that part is all good. Now we need to transfer the ticket, or not the ticket, excuse me, the certificate file that we just got. We need to transfer it into the lower privileged account. So from here, I guess I could just, I'm gonna try to see if I can run a Python server. Usually that's kind of my preferred method of transferring things. All right, so having logged into the lower privileged user account, created a Python server, and what I had to do to be able to download this was use the IP address of our VPN. So if you remember at the beginning of this task, I mentioned that you need to resolve your DNS, and I had done all of those things. And when you do that, it gives you a different IP address than the IP address of the attack box right here. And so for several attempts, I was trying to download it from the attack box IP address, and then I remembered that, oh, you know what, there's a specific IP that was assigned to persist AD, and this is the IP address that will now be working instead of the actual attack box IP address. And so immediately, as soon as I realized that, like the light bulb went on. And so I went and used the command, so curl yada yada yada, and I was able to download the file. I saved it as ca.pfx, and I downloaded it from the IP address of the VPN on port 8000, so on and so forth. And lo and behold, it's right there. So now from here, we can run the rest of the commands after downloading it, which would be this part right here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to run forge cert, and then create a new cert using the one that we have right here. So I'm going to paste this over here. And there are a few things that we do need to modify here, because the official path of forge cert is different from what I understand. I'm going to run it actually as it is, but I'm just going to change our certificate path because it is not this. So I'm going to run it first as is, and if it's not inside that file, let's see. It says unknown tag encountered. Okay, gang, I have been smashing my head against the wall for quite some time now. I went through a lot of different online tutorials on this particular task in this room, and I literally have done everything as other people have been doing it, but for some reason it's not working for me. So everything up until this point was fine. I was able to transfer the file to the attack box, transferred it back. And then at first, when I was just running it from the THMDC, the domain controller, this command was working perfectly fine. But now that when I try to run it from THM work1, the command keeps giving me this particular error message and it doesn't work. And it's very, very frustrating. I almost decided not to record this piece and just kind of say, you know, I was gonna, I don't know, just sneak this by you guys, but I feel like I need help with this. So if anybody who does know what the hell just is going on and why this isn't working, I would tremendously, tremendously appreciate any advice that you can give me or any direction that you can give me, because what I'm seeing from online tutorials from other people is that they're doing exactly the series of commands that's listed here and it's working perfectly fine for them, but for some freaking reason it's not working for me. And this is really like, it's kind of driving me up the wall. So I have done everything back and forth. I'll leave most of the stuff just so you guys can also refer to it and you can see what I did and maybe what I didn't do. So if you can correct me, you can correct me in the comments, hopefully. But it just, I got as far as getting to Rubius, and this command kept giving me a rejection past this point. It would say that I wasn't able to grant the ticket getting request or the ticket getting ticket, and it wouldn't allow me to go past it. And then this would be the very, very last thing where we would pass that the new certificate that we created to the Kerberos PTT so that it can go ahead and run it for us. And that's it. That's really the last piece of it. So I got this far. I got as far as this, and then everything past this point did not work for me, and it's driving me crazy, literally. So anybody that can come up with any kind of advice in this regard, I would sincerely appreciate it, because I have now spent a good 2 hours trying to figure this out, and I couldn't figure it out. So yeah, would mean the world to me if you could help me out with that. I know technically you might be watching this so that you can get some guidance on what to do, but if you aren't able to make this work as of the recording of this video, because also all the tutorials that I saw were from 2022 and I'm recording this in 2024, so there could be some things that have changed in the interim, but in the meantime, but for whatever reason that was not, it doesn't work for me. The answers to the questions are pretty simple, straightforward. So the key used to sign certificates is a private key. The application that we can use to forge a certificate is called ForgeCert, and then the Mimikatz command to pass a ticket is kerberos ::ptt and then ticket.kirby, which is the name of the ticket that they're trying to pass over here. So yeah, that's as far as I got with this, and I am going to just stop the recording at this point because I need to walk away from the computer and clear my head and try to figure out what the hell just happened. And being the obsessive person that I am, I'm gonna try to Google many more potential options and results in this regard to try to see if there's anything else that I can learn and hopefully find some solutions to this. But for now, I'm at a loss here. So if you know of anything, if you find any tutorials that are really, really good, that are recent tutorials, it would be great if you could drop a link in the comments for me maybe, and I can go try to check those out. But for now, we are done with the persistence through certificates. I got so close. To finishing it, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to take that last piece. But yeah, anyways, you know, peace, love, and chicken grease. If no one else loves you, Hank loves you. It's your boy Hank Hackerson at Hank Hacks Hackers, your favorite network and system attacker. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, do all that stuff. Please leave a comment if you find any solutions that I missed, because I really, really want to figure this out. Apart from that, I will see you in the next part of this series for Persisting Active Directory. And yeah, see you in the next video.